The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life, drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm Jules from beautiful Southern California. Thanks for joining me tonight because I have some really great information that I think you're going to really love. Remember a few weeks ago I talked about the importance of cleaning up and activating the pineal gland? I got such a great response to that show. Now I want to go a step further because many out there are unable to get that reverse osmosis water or filters for their tubs or their showers or spring waters. So I want to give you another remedy to actually break through the calcification of the pineal gland. High frequency sounds. Music that incorporate tones that go deep into the soft tissue. As a matter of fact, if the levels of sounds were in the 5,000 hertz range, it would actually liquefy the bone. This is proven scientifically. So tonight's show is all about a simple, effective, and economical way of activating the pineal gland. Now remember, the pineal gland is responsible for your spiritual connection to the universe, to your imagination, and the creations of your thoughts. It resides in the very center of your brain and works with the pituitary gland to increase your levels of serotonin, which helps you to achieve feelings of well-being and happiness. Just to simplify everything, the pineal gland is the place where your rockets of desires are sent out into this massive energy field. And if it's blocked or corroded, only some of your desires are getting out there, and the clear intention may not be getting through. This subject is so important that I wanted to bring an expert on, Don McCarty, to my show to explain about high-frequency sounds. I want to know, what are they, how do they work, and what frequencies achieve what results. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Don McCarty. He's the owner-developer for Code Dimensions, which is an IT programming and development company. He is also the lead programmer-developer for CodeDimensions.com. I want you to remember that website, CodeDimensions.com. Don is a firm believer in the law of attraction and discovered powerful audio technologies that he incorporated into his daily meditation practice. These technologies are Binaural Betas, Isochronic Tones, Solfeggio frequencies, and Subliminal Affirmations. These technologies and frequencies have been known since ancient times, and modern research has validated their effects as well. Since 2009, Don and his development team at CodeDimensions.com have been developing mobile apps, website tools, and audio, and soundscapes, high-frequency soundscapes, using these audio technologies. Don has created powerful, high-frequency sounds that can affect every area of your life. And he is the perfect person to explain all of this to us. Well, welcome, Don, to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I am really delighted that you could be here today and share all of this incredible information with our listeners.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I've been a big fan of you and the network for a long time, and it's just really great to be a part of your great online community. It's really been a great part of my spiritual daily practice, listening to your shows.
Oh, well, thank you. What you have designed by combining all of these sound vibrations is just so incredible. And it can help so many people around the world. As a matter of fact, I want to let the audience know that your brand new 936 Hertz Crystal Rain Spirits is playing in the background. So as we are talking throughout the show, they are accessing their pineal glands. And this is really important to know. So Don, let's start from the beginning. Please tell us how you got involved in all of this.
Well, just to start off with, as a profession, I'm a programmer, developer.
Computer
programmer and developer. And I've been working in the business for almost 20 years now. And, I went down the traditional path of, an IT professional where, I got really involved in a lot of really great projects and a lot of great things, but I found after a while that, I looked up one day and realized I'm a stressed out IT guy. I really have a go-getter attitude, and I took on a lot, and, and I really didn't have any techniques or tactics to deal with a lot of the stress that I got myself into, I had the professional skills to deal with the projects and all of that, no problem, but there were a lot of other stressors that I really didn't plan for. So I decided to look around and see if there were some things that could help me out a little bit. And, as I looked around online, one of the first things I found was the high-frequency music and binaural beats and isochronic tones and other sorts of brain synchronization technologies so that I could just kind of help myself, stay more focused, calm, and, get in the mind state I wanted to be instead of, where I was ending up being. And, I found that they worked really, really, really well. I hadn't started my meditation practice or any of my daily practice for that matter, and I really didn't have any other go-to tools in my spiritual tool chest, if you will, to deal with any of this. I just kind of went right towards technology, as my natural affinity.
Oh, sure.
And I have personally found that they worked really, really well. But, being a programmer and developer, I'm always kind of looking for how to, make things more efficient, expand things, come up with new ideas, and I found that, certain techniques were used in certain albums used certain techniques and others used others, and I kind of wanted to sort of combine everything together to work, all at once to sort of, supercharge my audio technologies, if you will. So I started kind of mixing some of the stuff together and found that, thought things worked even better for me. So I decided that I would start designing this type of music myself, and started off by designing a whole series of audio tracks with subliminals, different Solfeggio frequencies, isochronic tones, and binaural beats for my own use, and I started using them more and more. I would use them when I'd wake up. I would use them for relaxation, before I'd go to sleep. I'd listen to them when I would sleep at night. I would use them on my breaks at work, for like a little, de-stressors. And so I created a whole variety of different audio soundscapes, I like to call them, so that, it would be more entertaining for my mind to listen to all the time. And I started to use these consistently. They worked really, really great. And so I decided that perhaps I should share these with others. So that's where I started designing the apps and soundscapes that I have now.
Wow. So tell me, what did you find were the benefits for you? What did you experience personally?
I started to notice that not only was I experiencing less overall stress, that I seemed to experience better health. I know that a lot of the things we do kind of all work in tandem, but, I haven't been sick in years. I am always have a lot of energy. Prior to trying some of these techniques, I went through all the classic sicknesses during the year and stress-related things and, back aches and pains and, all these sorts of things. And to tell you the truth, I really don't experience any of that anymore. I sleep better. My digestion is better. My energy is better. I feel like I'm in a better mood most of the time. Like I said, I'm hardly ever sick. I can't remember the last time I was. It's been years. And, I really, really believe that these sorts of techniques that help synchronize our brain into more healthy states really, really help us, maybe our immune systems, our overall health on many different levels.
Oh, wow. So how long have you been developing these audio programs, these high-frequency, all-inclusive sounds?
For about 6 years, 7 years, 6 years, I started to design the apps, and then I've had them available online for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
So again, you listen to all the other produced sound effects, binaural beats, Solfeggio sounds, isochronic sounds, individually first before you got the idea to combine all of these with nature sounds for a more powerful experience. And you noticed a difference between all of these. So by putting the whole enchilada together, you feel that this is a more inclusive way to bring about noticeable results, right?
I believe so. I personally, I'm a big believer in the technologies, but if you listen to these tones, frequencies in their raw state, it's kind of disruptive to the psyche. I mean, the mind may very well be synchronizing to a more relaxed state, but, your perception, you're used to listening to music, entertainment things, and your perception is sort of focuses on these, mechanical sounds that some other techniques use these in their raw states, and and they work. But I found them to be really distracting and almost hard to listen to.
I am so glad you said that because, yes, I have listened to practically all of them separately, and it gets to the point where I actually feel a little nauseated by listening to a high-pitched, consistent sound. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like I have to sit there. That turned me off. I don't know what good it was doing, but it didn't feel good to me.
Right. And I completely agree. So I sort of believed in the technology, so I'm sure that these frequencies and tones were doing good, but as you said, they really weren't feeling that great listening to them. So I started to blend some audio techniques that would help keep the tones and the pulses consistent, but allow the conscious perception, if you will, to sort of wander away from these droning sort of tones and into a more natural tonal environment that you feel more relaxed listening to, like the ocean or river, nature, some nice melodic synthesizer music, things like that. It's kind of like if I tell you, don't think about your foot, you automatically think about your foot, but after a while, you stop thinking about your foot because you have a symphony of other input going on all the time that can distract you from that foot, but you still have solid footness, if you will, in your perception, And so that's pretty much the technique that I use. I make sure that all of the primary technologies are always perceived by the mind, but not always by the conscious perception.
Oh, I like that. Now, we have your music playing in behind us as we're speaking. And I just want to point out that it is so calming and sounds so beautiful. Can you tell us the name of it?
The tracks I've prepared for you are from a new release that I've prepared. This particular release was kind of inspired by you, Jules, because after listening to your show on the pineal gland, I was driving in my car listening to your show, and I was thinking, wow, I really got to get to work in healing my pineal gland, Lo and behold, I really hadn't been working with the 936 hertz frequency that is designed to repair and activate the pineal gland, which is part of the Solfeggio frequencies that I was using, because I was primarily focusing the frequencies on the healing energies, the connection energies with spirit, and the relaxation focus towards sleep. And so I really was excited after speaking with you about this particular interview, and so we've prepared a new album that I've called Jewel of the Mind, sort of as homage to you. That is a 4-track set, and they're all over 20 minutes a track, and they loop really nicely, so they're really great to listen to for long term and for Reiki or for sleeping or background music or whatever. But you can listen to them for a few minutes, pretty much from the start to the end. The technologies that are embedded in them are working right away. So you could, just listen to them for a few minutes or track them, listen to them all day, listen to them in the background while you sleep. And the 936 Hertz frequency tone is embedded in the audio, so it's basically talking to your pineal gland the entire time.
Wow.
And it's accompanied by a special isochronic and binaural beat tone mix in the theta alpha frequency that I prepared underneath that to sort of inspire the mind a little bit more into the imaginal dream mind state, sort of the daydream mind. I thought it was a natural companion to the activation of the pineal gland, since it releases the DMT, and it's so related to sleep and that, and
imagination. That's where our imagination comes from.
That's right. And I have been using these tracks for a couple of weeks straight now, really trying to, really make sure that they were ready for the audience. And I have to admit, I am really noticing a difference. I'm one of those people that doesn't really remember my dreams a lot, and it's kind of frustrating. I get little glimpses, and I have these spectacular dreams, but I only get these little teeny pieces, And I have been remembering my dreams more consistently over the last couple weeks than I can even remember. And so I'd really like to believe that my pineal gland perhaps is responding to this. And, I'm looking forward to, more of that, because I'd really, really like to be one of those people that remembers my dreams more,
That's the window into your higher self, is through your dreams. You're getting direct messages all the time for you to understand. So, yes, it goes hand in hand. How exciting. This is wonderful. I love it. So, okay, we just talked about the 936. Let's talk about the other frequencies, because each tone represents something, or each frequency. Can we go into some of those?
Sure. First, it's hertz, not megahertz.
Oh,
it's a little bit lower range. Yep, just a minor little thing. We can start off with how about we start off with the alpha, theta, and delta brainwave states, which we hear about a lot.
Great.
Yeah, we hear about these. We hear these bandied about. Basically, the alpha range is a frequency between around 8 and 12 hertz. We operate in the beta range, as most of your listeners probably know, during the day, which is kind of our more sort of alert, activated state that we're used to, which is slightly above the alpha range. And right when you get a little bit below of the beta, that's right when you start touching into that sort of, that mind that's, kind of like when you're driving and your mind sort of drifts off a little bit, or you're right on that edge of, you're not quite daydreaming, but your brain is really active and sort of thinking. That's sort of a good representative alpha wave state. And the theta wave state, which is next, which goes the 4 to 7 hertz range around, is that right about that, that kind of like when you are, let's say you're sort of dozing off. It's a nice sunny day. You're sort of dozing off a daydream mind, if you will. Right on that little edge mind. Perhaps the meditative mind. You're getting a little close to sleep, the sleep state, but not quite. And then, of course, we have the delta wave state, which is associated with sleep, which is from about from the 0.1 to about 4 hertz. So you can see that as the frequencies go down, the mental state is more calming. that thing we hear a lot in spiritual teachings about how the mind chatter is kind of like looking at a snow globe when you shake it up,
Right.
And then when you relax, you can kind of, I sort of correlate a lot of this with frequencies as well. It seems like the lower range frequency, the more calm and relaxed the mind is.
Interesting, yeah, and I use the theta for hypnosis.
Oh, yes, I imagine you
because
could, yeah.
It's right before they fall asleep, and it's just the perfect place to jump over that critical mind because the mind is so calm.
Right. When I first started this, I pretty much did everything in theta because I really wanted to get to that active, meditative, that deep meditation, that sort of window into the imaginal dream state, sort of that a lot of advanced meditators were talking about. So, yeah.
Oh, great. So you have other frequencies, and they have to do as you go up higher. See, this is what's confusing to me, and maybe you can explain it. You were talking about going lower hertz-wise, but now we're talking about going higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because basically, you have many different elements within your mind. Like we were just talking about the pineal gland, for example, and we're an energy being, and we are activated through tonations. It's been proven scientifically on many different experiments the effects of audio on the physiology. These frequencies that we are using, the Solfeggio frequencies, seem to have a direct effect that's similar to the brainwave entrainment effects that we are using the alpha, theta, and delta range, in as much as they seem to affect your mental state with many frequencies and your physical state with others. The 528 hertz frequency, which is really popular these days, it's called the love frequency, and has actually been proven in the lab to repair DNA.
Wow.
Your DNA actually, jumps up and says, "Hey, I'm recognizing that, and I'm responding." And so all the different frequencies in this particular scale are associated with certain types of mental and physical conditions.
Wow, this is so fascinating. And I just read where the sounds are really going into the soft tissue. Yeah. But if it were a very high frequency, like 3,000 or 5,000, you are actually trying to liquefy the bone.
Right. I mean, sound is really powerful. It's really, really powerful. We always see the classic thing in the movies and all that of the person singing and breaking the glass, that sort of thing. Yeah, and so, the understanding of how the frequencies that we're using in our albums in the Solfeggio scale have been around for a long time. A long time. And, I really resonate with a lot of, I don't know about you, but when I see ancient philosophies or science that correlate with modern research, I really think that there's a lot of truth there, And with the modern research with the 528 hertz frequency, it kind of validates the scale for me scientifically. In a way, as well as the pineal gland activation frequency. And the other frequencies, if you'd like to talk about them, we can...
Yeah, I would, because I think the audience would really love it. Now, these, as we're going down, these are what you have used and you actually have on your site.
Yes. That
people can get. Okay, so let's start off with the 396 hertz.
Okay, that's great. Well, first of all, the Solfeggio scale goes back a long time, as we had mentioned, and it's sort of tied in a lot with some of the ancient Gregorian chants and hymns, because and as with Sanskrit, as we know that a lot of ancient intonations were directly correlated with spiritual connections. The word and the sound and the intention and the spirit, all that kind of went together. And so these particular frequencies, these tones used in these chants, seem to really have these uplifting and healing effects And so that was where a lot of the initial research and understanding of them came out of the ancient church. And so the 396 hertz frequency is known for liberating guilt and fear. It's sort of, so, I can imagine wherever you're holding on to those certain energy spirals, if you were, in your chakras or whatever, perhaps the 396 hertz can really just get in there and sort of, kind of help you out there a little bit,
Yeah, liberating guilt and fear seems to be like it has to do with the past or the future. So in that way, you may be able to release some of the past.
Yeah, and I even use it sometimes, like if I'm nervous going into a meeting or something. And, because a lot of the guilt and fear comes are talking to ourselves, like, oh, you're going to mess up, or why didn't you prepare more, or something like that, And and so I you can use it as like a tool on a deeper level, or as a daily tool as well.
Yeah, I could think of a whole bunch of applications, taking tests, public speaking, a whole bunch of other applications for this. This is really good. Liberating guilt and fear, 396 hertz. Okay, so let's go on to the 417.
Okay, well, 417 is supposed to be the change facilitator, the undoing problems, or changing situations, or the way it's put, it sort of seems to me that if you're finding yourself in a I'm stuck and I know I'm stuck because of my own self, sort of thing, like perhaps it ties a lot very closely in with liberating the guilt and fear, and it's pretty close on the frequency range, but it does seem to suggest that it's focused more towards helping you make that change.
It's motivating.
Yeah, a motivator would probably be an excellent term for that.
Wow, that is so fascinating. Ooh, I love this. Okay, now 528.
528, that's the big favorite. That's the big love. That's supposed to be, there's a lot of media and a lot of products out there that are centered exclusively around this frequency. It's supposed to be, I think there was a 528 frequency love project on the internet a little while back, an audio project, and, there's a lot of people that really believe and focus in this as the frequency of love. And, and it's supposed to be the transformational miracle, it prepared DNA in the lab, so I can imagine perhaps some of the connection with the miracles and transformation might be activating maybe growth or health or something physically, but it's also associated with the frequency of love. Yeah.
Wow, this is pretty powerful. Let me just get some clarification. You're not putting all of the frequencies in on one song or one piece of music or audio. You're keeping them separate. Is that correct?
Right. Unfortunately, if I mixed all of those frequencies together, it would combine and create a whole different frequency all in itself. It would create its own tonation. So I only include one particular Solfeggio frequency. I double up on the technologies with the binaural beats and the isochronic tones, because the binaural beats, which we'll probably get into this later, are activated by listening to them in stereo, and the isochronic tones don't require that. So those folks that are listening to it for, let's say, ambient music in their massage room, or in studying, or in their listening in their car or something like that, they wouldn't necessarily get to take advantage of the direct stereo effect of the binaural beat. So the isochronic tones sort of double up on that to kind of give it a little bit more power in all, in mono or stereo.
Wow, this is so fascinating. I am so happy because, I've always wondered about what is making up this music, and you are giving us so much valuable information. Let's go down to the 639 hertz, and it's about relationships.
Yeah, this is the connection frequency. So, this is the frequency that, is supposed to inspire connections, inspire relationships, So maybe the next time you're going out on the town, maybe instead of going for that liquid courage and drinking that drink to ask that girl out or whatever, maybe you just can listen to some 639 Hertz connection frequency and get the courage to make that connection that way.
Isn't that fascinating? And it's really funny that, well, it's not funny. It makes logical sense that it's right above the love hertz.
Yes.
So it's one step above. It's actually helping you to get that courage to go pursue that relationship. Oh, this is great. What about 741?
Yeah, and you're noticing that trend. You'll see that as we go from the lowest to the highest frequency, you can see yourself moving into different sort of arenas all the way to the pineal gland. It's pretty amazing. So we're on 741, isn't that correct?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that is the intuition. That's all about stimulating your intuitive mind. It's all about your gut feeling, that higher self in you, and awakening your connection to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're actually developing your courage to listen to your intuition. Oh, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, and if you're in a business or in a particular mode in your life where you're really, really, really needing to trust that gut, maybe you don't have all the facts, you're really having to go with your own decisions and you're not really sure, this is the sort of frequency that is supposed to be able to reinforce your connection to your true intuitions.
Wow. I love that. Okay, and 852, returning to spiritual order.
Yeah.
What is this about?
Yeah, and you can see as we've graduated from miracles in our own body and love, we're connecting with people, now we're connecting with our intuition, and now we're connecting with our spirit, so it's almost, I see a lot of correlatives, there personally with the way these things sort of are right next to each other, where your intuition is very close in frequency to your spiritual connection. And the spiritual order, it's just, I would be, giving my opinion because there's not a whole lot of information on this particular frequency. But I particularly, I use this personally whenever I'm doing meditation, prayer meditation, or any sort of mental process where I'm trying to get in touch with my higher self, my spiritual self, or whatever. I find that this frequency tends to encourage that a bit.
And now we reach the 936 hertz for the activation of the pineal gland. And if you really look at the order of these frequencies, it's mind-boggling that it was created in a divine order. You can see the higher purpose of it all. You're taking each step one by one to a higher frequency level as we all evolve. And then we get to the 936, which encompasses everything. Of course it would be the activation of the pineal gland. This is the window to the soul, to the spirit, to the universe. Wow, this is so fascinating.
Yeah, yes, I know. It's amazing because once I put that last frequency on the list there, it was like putting a little top hat on top of it. I could see it so clearly how it progressed up there, and you can really, 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 really feel it. I personally think the pineal gland activation frequency is very, very directly experienced, I think.
Life-changing, because you are connecting directly to that infinite intelligence out there, this energy field that surrounds us. I mean, you're cleaning everything up. So I'm wondering, can you start at the pineal gland and go backwards, or it seems like you need to start and go up each ladder?
I would just, I personally think you can do whatever and however you want. Then I personally use them as a palette for a variety of situations. I also, I'm a big believer in the 520. I use 528 hertz as a staple frequency for a lot of media. The 936 hertz is basically one I'm going to be using a lot. And the others, I tend to use them now and again for specific situations. I find that 528 hertz is just an excellent mainstay if you like to listen to stuff when you sleep, or as ambient music in the background, because it's really activating physical healing, and so we get, as you said, bombarded with so many things, radio frequencies. We all have routers in our homes and microwave signals going through us at all times, and depending on how much access we have to good food and water and different things like that, I use the 528 hertz probably the most out of all of them.
Would you say that if you're suffering from insomnia, that the 528 is maybe one that you should listen to?
Yeah, I would say that the 528 is probably the best to listen to when you sleep. You would obviously use a delta wave frequency entrainment technology as well, so that you can get the brain, from your frustrated waking mind, kind of encourage it down to the delta frequency. The mind really has a hard time staying awake, if you can encourage it down to this particular frequency range. So in spite of your insomnia, you really have a hard time fighting the actual true physics of the mind, once your brain has, because what's going on there, which we didn't really talk about before, is that there's the brain seems to have a mirroring effect where it follows the frequency. It attempts to align itself with the frequency. So by exposing the mind to these isochronic tones, and these binaural beats, it suggests a certain frequency range, and the mind says, "I want to be in line with that." So it actually has a physical effect where it is actually attempting to follow that sound. And so in spite of your insomnia or any other issues that might be going on, the frequency following response can be used as a way to sort of counter that.
Don, I wanted to make it easier for our listening audience to hear the difference between each sound frequency, so I'm going to play this 2-minute clip. And I just want you to know that these are samples from CodeDimension.com. Here is the alpha sound. Here is the theta sound. Here is the delta sound. Here is the 396 hertz, liberating guilt and fear. The 417 hertz, undoing situation and facilitating change. And now here's the 528 hertz, transformation and miracles, DNA repair. Here's the 639 hertz, connecting and relationships. Now here is the 741 hertz, awakening intuition. And here's the 852 hertz, returning to spiritual order. And finally, here's 936 hertz, pineal gland activation. I also want to mention that we're going to be continuing to listen to the 936 Hertz Choral Gem as background music to the rest of our interview. Now that we know the difference between the sounds of the frequency, I think it would be great if we could let people know what is going on your website and how they can go about purchasing these sounds. But not only that, you've got another fabulous program that everybody needs to know about, because it is so personal that you can really get down and do some real good stuff for yourself. So let's talk about all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is CodeDimensions.com. That's CodeDimensions, CodeDimensions.com. And once there, I have 4 links at the top. One for I call them the Soundscapes. I have some apps which we can talk about in a little while. And on the site, I have a section called Audio Technologies, which is a great place for your listeners to go and get some information about how binaural beats work, isochronic tones work, the Solfeggio frequencies. I have samples of all of them available that they can listen to. And then I also have an audio samples collection page, which ties into my YouTube channel, which the users can listen to samples from all the different tracks, the different types of frequencies, and then watch the oscilloscope. You can get a nice little view of visually of how some of those frequencies look and how they're embedded once the soundscapes sort of take over from the core tones.
Just to make sure everybody is understanding, when you visit CodeDimension.com, you're looking for high-frequency music or the audio sounds, you need to go into the soundscapes.
Mm-hmm.
And are the numbers, the frequencies listed for every album?
The Spirit of Healing is pretty much all designed around the 528 hertz. Yes, it's pretty. I have a story behind that. I raised an Australian Shepherd. He was my first dog, and he lived to be quite old. He was like 15, and he came down with some congenital cancer, and he was fading fast, and so I was doing a lot of this work. So I designed this album, and we used to play it in the house 24 hours a day, and I was just hoping it would help him, kind of hang on just a little bit the whole time. So I designed this all around healing, and so I would recommend this album for anybody who has any ailments or is dealing with anyone else who is ailing or sick in any way. This uses the alpha and theta range, primarily alpha range, and the 528 hertz range for healing. So the alpha range allows it to be used pretty much anywhere, so that it doesn't get making you too sleepy or anything like that, but it's still relaxing in and of itself anyway. Great tracks for it. Yeah, the two albums we're just mentioning, those are primarily all in the 528 hertz range. I do have 2 albums that have tracks in all of the different ranges, so that users can use the different frequencies whenever they need to as well.
And you have the album, The Best Sleep Ever. Oh boy, does that sound wonderful.
Yeah, that I have been listening to. I started this track. I created 2 tracks, and I listened to them, and I've been listening to them. In fact, you can go in my room 24 hours a day. It's been on. I have an iPhone 3 that I kept around that just sits there. All it does is play music, and it plays these tracks. I sleep to them. I cannot tell you how much better I sleep as a result of this. I design a lot of the music to be really native to the way your biology works. So I'm trying to draw the mind into a natural state, both with the audio technologies, but also with your perception. And I always use nature, 3D stereo recorded, live recorded nature sounds. We've recorded in the redwood forests, river gorges around the world. We have a friend of ours who's doing a set for us in Hawaii. He just got his recording equipment today, and he's heading off on a trip around the islands to give us some more bass tracks. So we're going to have a lot more great soundscapes coming up.
Oh my goodness!
And then the other thing is we, what I find to be really native to our experience of life is breathing. And so a lot of you'll notice that the audio tonations and a lot of the synthesizer effects I use, they wax and I like to use an audio form of it's almost like a breathing. And so you get a synchronicity with nature, which kind of I think resonates with you on a soul level, and you get the tones which are harmonically related to the particular frequencies that we're using on that track, and so that it helps drift the mind away. You'll notice, especially with the higher frequency tones, like the pineal gland, if you really focus, you can hear that tone. The higher the tone, the harder it is to mask because it's dominant. But the soundscape does the trick, and just like with the idea of don't think about your foot, when you think about your foot, the soundscape will just move your consciousness away from that, and you won't hear that frequency tone as easily.
Okay, since I'm on your site right now, I see a couple albums I want to get right now, but I'm noticing that you don't have the 936 activation on there yet.
That's right, and it will be debuting on. We have 2 of the 4 tracks ready. We've sent you 2 of the 4 tracks as their draft final editions. The other 2 will be completed probably in the next couple of days. So by the time your listeners hear this interview, it will be available. And most likely we will only be able to debut it initially on Google Play because they will allow us to pretty much have the album available immediately once we upload it, but the other outlets take a little while. So the users will be able to get on there and check it out, and if they want to wait for their favorite outlet of choice like iTunes or Amazon or Spotify to come up, then they can probably wait just a couple weeks for that, and the Google Play version will most likely be available immediately, so they could probably just go right over there and check it out.
Okay, so now I want to talk about something that I'm very excited about. You know, and I know, and everybody knows that we absolutely know what's going on within our psyche. We understand our emotions. We understand our needs and what we need to resolve it. We know this intuitively.
Yeah.
So you now have a brand new app that people can record their own affirmations with your music. This is so fabulous.
Well, I have 2 apps. One's called Sublisten. The other is called Alpha Mind. And just like you said, I put myself in that same situation. I had been listening to a lot of my tracks over and over again for a long time, and I thought to myself, boy, it sure would be nice to have some of these same technologies while I was listening to some of my favorite playlist music, so I don't always have to be listening to ambient nature meditation music every time I want to take advantage of the power of some subliminal affirmations or some of these frequencies, etc. So I designed an app called Sublisten. Sublisten is available for all mobile devices, so you can find it on the iTunes App Store. You can find it at all of your favorite Android marketplaces, and pretty much anywhere where you can buy apps on the web. It's been around for a while. And what Sublisten allows you to do is you can record your own positive affirmations, which we all use, I assume. I certainly do. And you can record them, and you can add them as a subliminal track, where it uses audio frameworks to basically place your subliminal affirmations right underneath the perceptive range. It allows you to bump it up a little too. You can adjust it so, depending on how you like it. I found that, like you said, users know what they like, and so I've listened to some subliminal stuff where I could, I almost like hearing a little bit of it, so my brain keeps telling me, there's something, I don't know, if everyone's like me, but I like to perceive it just slightly, maybe louder than some folks. So there's it's a little bit of adjustments. You can move it up and down in the range, so you can decide how subtle you want it to be. And then you simply load a playlist. You select your music like you normally would, and then just hit play, and it plays your playlist and allows your affirmations and or your selected tones or technologies to attach themselves to your music, and now you've got all this same sort of audio technology on your own music, on your own playlist from you want. I'm a big fan, a big believer in the subliminal affirmations. Tony Robbins has just a great set of subliminal affirmations. In fact, his affirmations were one of the reasons why I designed this app, because I was listening to his affirmations and I thought to myself, wow, wouldn't that be cool if I could also have some other frequencies going on here, And then I was thinking, well, I love your stuff, Tony, but I wish I had some different music. It's the same stuff every time. I want to get motivated every day, but do I want to listen to that same thing every day? And the answer is no. And so, and so that was kind of the inspiration behind designing this app. Now, might I mention to any interested customers of any of these products that we are, I've already met with my development guys and my team, and we are set to, we have a whole series of updates to all of our apps that we have been working on for quite a while, and we've sort of stopped it in order to allow us a little bit of time to add the 936 Hertz frequency to all of our apps that use the Solfeggio frequency Solfeggio frequencies. So for those of users out there that are already using these apps and you're listening, your updates are on the way, and you'll be able to also take advantage of adding 936 Pineal Gland Activating Audio technologies to the apps, and we'll be adding those as a new feature.
So tell me, what if a person doesn't have a smartphone?
Well, if a person doesn't have a smartphone, we have created an option it's funny that you should mention what if a person doesn't have a smartphone, because when I released this app, I got some email from some folks around the world who didn't have smartphones but saw the app and thought if there was any other option and they would want to take advantage of this. So my buddies and I and the development team got together and worked to set up a framework of some open source technologies, audio frameworks that we have on our server, and we have a domain called createsubliminal.com, and you can create your own subliminal tracks online there. And so basically it's free. At some point in time we may add more functions or features, and there may be some minimal charge for the enhanced version, or I don't know, something like that maybe down the line. But for now, and for its life, for this particular function, it will always be free. And folks can simply go there, set up a free account. You can record your own subliminals right online, and you can select music from your computer and upload it, or I've put a bunch of selectable meditation tracks that you can select from that I have available there, so you can just create them with those. And then the system will embed the subliminal into the audio, render it out as an MP3, and give the user a download, and then they can just put it in whatever device they listen to music.
Okay, so I need some clarity around this, because I'm on your site and I see that there's no place to pay for these. So I'm assuming that we have to go to iTunes or Google Music or somewhere else or Amazon to pay for them first. And do you have support on your site in case we get stuck and we don't know where to go, or we're having problems, or is there somebody there that can help us?
All of the apps have support links. Our website has a contact us page that could just be used for general comments or questions, and it also has a whole list of all the products, so you could reference any of those. We do have a live support widget that is just getting rolled into the site, so when that gets available, when any of the development team is at their workstations, the live help icon will go live, and so there even be some live help. And I handle all of the iOS side of the support, and my partner and Android and Java programmer Eric Wright handles all of the support for those sites, and we are pretty much spot on. We are on our email all the time, and a user will never have to wait for any support from us. So if you have any problem, we probably have seen it before, and if we haven't, then we also love a challenge, and we will work with you, and it will be immediate pretty much when you have any problem with any of our stuff. So.
That is good to know, and very comforting, too.
Thank you. Would you like to get a little sneak preview of some things we have in the hopper as it is?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, we already talked about, of course, adding 936 hertz to all of the apps. But one of the other things that we're working on right now that's really exciting is in the area of muscle testing. And I recently discovered muscle testing. Have you tried that?
Oh,
much?
yes.
Yes. And so I got together with my technical team, and we are pretty sure that we have encapsulated a way with our mobile device frameworks. We won't let too much of the cat out of the bag, so to speak. But I think that we are on track to a very effective self-muscle testing app that will be, I can't wait to use it myself. It's starting to show great promise, and we really look forward to releasing that. So that might be something that would be just great to talk about, and maybe even, we get, whenever I do a new release, I have a certain number of promotional codes that are provided through iTunes, for example, and perhaps we could I could offer some free promos to some lucky listeners.
Oh, what a fabulous idea.
Yeah, so we're going to combine that with the audio, and so we feel like we're pretty on track with how to get the mind into certain states, and so we feel like if we use this all in tandem, that we can get in a really good state of mind for some good, accurate responses from the body.
Oh, I love it. This is incredible. Great. We are all out of time, but Don, it was such a thrill having you on and telling us about all of these things that will not only shift us personally, but will shift the planet. This is just great stuff, so thank you so much.
Well, the thrill has been all mine. I'm a huge fan of you and the network. I think your network is the best one-stop resource for inspirational, spiritual, law of attraction. I mean, I am a big fan of so many of your hosts and you, and I just can't wait for the next show. I pop onto my iTunes, and it's, I've started to even get involved in some of the live tapings of some of the shows because I don't want to wait. I love it. So you are doing a great job, and I am so honored, as my whole team is, to be involved, and we will endeavor to represent well for these technologies for everyone that finds us through your site and everywhere else. We're users and believers, and we couldn't be more excited to be involved.
Aw, thank you, Don. This has just been great. And now, everybody, we can go to work and clean up our pineal gland, get that connection into the universe, and have our messages heard and our rockets of desire go full blast. So thank you for joining me and Don McCarty. And don't forget, CodeDimensions.com. We'll see you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show from Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you'd like to comment on tonight's show, send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com, and have a great week.